Hi, everybody. This is Miss Sanford. I wanted to take a moment and give you some information in case you're interested in applying for theater programs in college. So there's a lot of information out there. I got a lot of this from different sources, through my own experience, helping people go through application programs, and then also from other students who have had success, kind of breaking it down with them after the fact and talking through what worked and what was maybe more fluff or not as helpful. So uh, this is probably going to be a lot of information. It's probably not going to be very visually exciting because it's just information about college programs. And a lot of this is general because everybody has different priorities when they're looking at programs that they're interested in. So make sure you know what you think is a priority. And the biggest piece of advice is remember that you are choosing a college as much as they are choosing you. So just because a program is very highly respected in the community, or because it has a big name, or it's Ivy League, just because of the things on the surface does not mean it's going to be a good fit for you. And in the long run, you are going to be happiest in a place that supports you emotionally, socially, as well as with health choices. Anyway, so just take a moment and think, what do you want to get out of the college experience before you start researching programs and before you start applying, for sure. The first thing to think about is there are a lot of different types of school to select from when you're thinking about a degree in theater. The two biggest ones are BA and BFA. So that's Bachelor of Arts versus Bachelor of Fine Arts. BFAs tend to be 70% or more specifically in theater. So the majority of every single day, you're going to be studying your craft. You're going to be working on audition skills, working on character study, working on voice and movement, and maybe dance classes if it's a musical theater, or vocal talent and ability, right? So you're really training in theater. Typically, BFAs are offered in acting, musical theater, vocal music, and dance. There are other BFAs as well, but those are the main ones when you're thinking about theater focus. And typically, BFAs require you to audition for the program, so they're very selective. The good thing about being selective is that means that those core people are most likely going to stay with you all 4 years. So you kind of have that cohort feel where you really know each other really well. The other thing is, that you're going into a program where everybody is equally as invested as you are in your craft. So you're not going to be in large lecture halls. You're going to be in smaller classes, typically, at least for the theater portion of your degree. Other positives of a BFA, potentially, are that you can get industry connections. Now, this is typically dependent on where the college is located. So if you're looking at a college that's close to New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., LA, those tend to be near very big hubs of theater. So you're going to get more industry master classes. You're going to get more guest speakers. You're going to get more one-on-one with people who are working in the field. That's not to say that if you go to Savannah, Georgia, you're not going to get that, but you're not in a hub, so there probably isn't as much opportunity. That is a good question to ask, though, when you are vetting colleges. Master classes from industry professionals, how many, when, who are some of the names that you've brought in, those kinds of things. Okay, also you want to look, you potentially could look for a school that offers you a New York showcase or an LA showcase, or both. Many schools in LA are now doing both, where they'll fly you out to New York and they'll do the same showcase in LA. And again, a showcase your junior, senior year helps you get in front of casting agents, get in front of talent agents, get in front of directors, performers, right? Again, this industry is so much about your connections and who you know and what you know. So New York showcase, LA showcase, do you want that? Is that something that you think would be beneficial to you? Ask those questions, especially before you apply. Start your research now. Are there equity theaters on campus or nearby? Some people think that getting an equity card will help launch your career. Others say don't get an equity card until a couple years in, because it does limit what you're able to audition for. So keep in mind what your end game is, what you think the best plan for yourself is. And if equity is important to you, it might be helpful to go to a school that has an equity house on campus or at least nearby. Okay, so some cons of the BFA are typically you are not able to double major, and typically you're not able to minor in other areas. So if you are thinking that it is helpful to have a backup plan, or to maybe you have multiple interests and theater is not your be all end all, but it's something that you love and you want to keep in your life, a BFA program is probably not going to be aligned for your course of study to help support what you want. Also, with a BFA, again, because you're with all those people who eat, sleep, breathe, love theater, maybe you want a more diverse college experience. Maybe you don't want to be in a group of people who know everything about the current musicals on Broadway, or who recite musical theater lyrics in their sleep, right? Maybe you want to be in a more diverse or a more open environment that allows you to meet new people with new interests. Additionally, with a BFA, and again, always exception to a rule, but typically because it's such an intense training program, they do not support study abroad. So if you really want to travel and see the world in college, maybe not a BFA. Okay, so that's BFA. BFA, remember, is 70% theater courses. When we look at a BA, Bachelor of Arts, you're really looking at more 50%. So it's not a huge difference, but there are more GEs that you have to get under your belt with a BA, and they are more excused in a BFA program. Okay, so things to consider. In a BA, you get the idea of a bachelor's is you're getting a broad understanding of a lot of different classes. With a Bachelor of Arts, typically you do not audition. As long as you meet the requirements for the university in which the theater department is housed, you don't need to audition in addition to the application. Cons of a BA is some think it is not as challenging. Some think that there's less real life training for entry-level performers. BAs are excellent for people who want to be stage managers, for people who want to be teachers like me, for people who want more skills so that they are more marketable. If you know that your end game is to perform on Broadway, even if it means you're working at Starbucks and performing as an ensemble member and working every minute of your life, if that Broadway is your end game and you want to perform only, maybe a BFA is a better fit for you. Okay, there's a whole nother world though that you probably haven't thought about, which are professional training programs. So these programs typically do not give you a degree when you finish. Typically, they are training only. So the nice thing about professional training programs is there are no GEs. So 100% of your coursework is on your craft, is on your skill, is on your trade. It's also intensive training. So think all day long for 2 solid years or 1 solid year, you are eat, sleep, drink, breathing your specific talent, whether it's performance or stage management or design. And there are great training programs out there that are very affordable. Sometimes these are housed within community colleges, so you're paying a community college price for professional BFA level training. The disadvantage is you do not graduate with a degree typically. Okay, and then there's a fourth category. It's still technically a bachelor's, Bachelor of Arts, but there's a whole group of degrees that are text or theory or literary based degrees in theater. These are great for people who want to be PhDs, who want to be professors of theater at universities, artistic directors of large theaters in the future, literary managers, dramaturgs. These are people who love the text, but don't necessarily want to be on stage or designing. So they're the more brainy artists as opposed to the more creative feeling artists, if you were to boil it down. And again, because it's a bachelor's, your work in theater at that degree is going to be 50% in the theater world, and the rest would be GEs. This degree program is really where you want to focus on Ivy League schools. And it is very much the first of many degrees you would accrue to get to where you want to go. So that typically doesn't apply to a whole lot of people. But if that does apply to you, let me know and we can keep talking about it. All right, now we're going to start to talk about your application process. The very first thing you want to do is figure out, what do you want from a school? Some of that is career focused. What do you want at the end of 4 years? Do you want to have a New York showcase where you have the potential to audition in front of casting agents and talent agents, so you can graduate your 4 years with an agency representing you? Maybe that's your focus. Is your focus that you want to go to a school that has an amazing social life with fraternities and sororities and a football team and sports events, and you want to pledge? Maybe that's a priority to you. Do you want to go to a school that's in a huge city so you can live the city life because you've grown up in Irvine your whole life? Do you want to go to a school that's not in a big city area, one where maybe it's in a smaller residential area? Maybe you want to go to a small school where there are small class sizes. Maybe you want to go to a big school where you can kind of get lost in the crowd a little bit or meet a million new people. There's so many things that schools have to offer you. So sit down and think about how did high school go for you? What did you love about high school? What did you hate about high school? What did you miss from a high school experience that you want to gain in college? Start making your list of priorities. Once you know what you want, then start researching. At that point, once you know what you want, you probably have a good idea whether you want to pursue a BA or a BFA, or you want to apply to both types of programs. Maybe you've decided that you don't want the 4-year experience and you want to look at community college and transfer, or you want to look at some of those professional training programs and just jump into the career, launch your career at 18. All of those are completely valid choices, but they have to come from what you want for yourself. So start and plan and do some reflection before you do your research. Okay, so when you're looking at schools, and now I'm going to stop talking about 2-year programs in community college, and I'm really going to focus on those 4-year applications. You need to know a little bit about what are the requirements to apply to the university. Do they typically accept a specific type of student, and does that look like you? That could be GPA, that could be SAT scores, that could be networking things, that could be cost. That's a huge one. Are you hoping to apply for a bunch of grants? Are you very grateful because your parents are going to help you pay for it? Are you paying completely out of your own pocket and now you have to rely upon scholarships? Right? What is the cost going to limit you for? Cool. So when you're looking at types of schools, you want to categorize them as you fall in love with schools. Categorize them into, this is a reach school. This is a school that probably typically doesn't accept the type of student I am or the type of actor I am. Fit, right? That's a college that typically accepts me or people who are like me. And then you want to think about those safety schools. And those are schools where like you're almost guaranteed to get in. For people who are pursuing BFAs, those safety schools might be BA programs. They might be BFAs in lesser known programs. They might be BFAs that are less competitive. But you really want to weigh your options and go back to what you ranked important, what your priorities are from a school. You want to look at 12 to 20 schools. Of those 12 to 20 schools, you want to look at 1 or 2 safety schools. Those are schools that you would be happy to go to, schools that you would not be disappointed if none of the other schools, right? If you're applying to 18 schools, 16 of them don't accept you, you would be happy to go to those safety schools. So 1 or 2 safety schools. You want 7 to 8 fit schools. Those are schools that typically accept students like you or performers like you. And then you want to have the rest. So that would look like maybe 40% be reach. And those are programs that you're like salivating for or in love with or would be so over the moon to attend. So 40% reach, 60% fit, and that leaves one or two as safety schools. So that should be the breakdown of where you apply. When you're thinking about BFA programs, most schools have bargaining ability if you do not fit the minimum GPA. So if you are not the strongest student, do not be afraid to apply to BFA schools, because if they fall in love with you, if you are exactly what they're looking for, if you are a dream for whatever they're looking for, if you fit that mold and you don't meet that minimum GPA requirement, that director will talk to admissions and say, I know that they don't meet GPA requirements, but I need them. And they'll fight for you. So don't be scared if you are not the strongest student. There are still many places that would love to have you, even if you don't think that you are a good GPA fit for that school. So just be aware that that is happening more and more with those BEFA programs. Also, with those 2-year professional training programs, they don't look at your GPA typically. They base it only on audition. So again, if you're not the strongest student, I would apply for a couple training programs if you're okay not having a degree. And I would also apply for some in case you do get into a program that gives you a degree. And then once you have your options, you can weigh and decide where would be the best fit for you. We've got a lot more to go through, but for now we're going to pause because that is a lot of information. I hope this was wonderful. I hope you learned something, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.